Hi everybody, I'm Bill Shawls and this is Bullets Academy. It's another day for another history lesson and last week we talked about the men's 800 free relay in the 1984 Olympic Games. It was the Americans versus the West Germans in a really exciting race, and the Americans were not favored to win, but they came in, they pulled it out, swimming in an anchor leg against the fastest swimmer in the world, Mikhail Gross, who by all accounts was the Michael Phelps of his time back in the 80s. Now we're going to fast forward nearly a quarter of a century, 24 years later. We're in Beijing. We're no longer on home turf in Los Angeles like we were in 84. We're in Beijing. All countries are here. It's a full Olympic Games, and it's the United States versus France in the final of the men's 400 free relay. So what's on the line here? Why is this race so important? Well, number one, Michael Phelps is in this race, and he's going to be leading off this relay. Just 70 minutes earlier, an hour and 10 minutes earlier, he had swam in the semifinals of the 200 freestyle to earn a spot in the finals for tomorrow night. And now here he is leading off the 400 free relay. It is a race that the Americans, nobody is predicting the Americans to win this race. Even Rowdy Gaines, right before the race during the telecast, said that he has figured this race out multiple different ways, and every single time he figures it out, the French come out ahead. The French are led by their superstar, Alain Bernard. He is the former world record holder, second fastest man in the world. In fact, more drama in this race is that you have Eamon Sullivan from Australia leading off their relay, and he's the world record holder. So there's a lot going on in this race. The French also have Frédéric Bascot and Fabien Godot, and their relay's anchor is rounded off by their leadoff, Emery Laveau, who all four guys can go under 48 seconds. The world record's a 47.2. You have four guys that are dead start under 48 for France. This is a loaded relay. On the American side, we've got leading off, like I said, Michael Phelps, and then we have Garrett Weber-Gale, Cullen Jones, and perhaps one of the greatest relay swimmers of all time, Jason Lezak. Jason is just known for putting down big swims at the end of the relay. So will the Americans, once again, like the 800 free relay, the Americans need a lead. They're going to need a lead, and they're going to need roughly a 1.5 to 3/4 of a second lead before Jason Lezak gets the water, because you're looking at Alain Bernard from France. Now, one other interesting twist in this is Alain Bernard was asked early in the week about the Americans and about this race because the French were so heavily favored. And his response was, the Americans, we're going to smash them. That's what we came here for. So brilliant as he is, he decides he's going to give the United States just a little bit more oomph and a little bit more energy and a little bit more desire to win this race. So when you watch the race online, again, one of the interesting things about this race too is that, remember, this is 2008, so now we've got high definition. So it's interesting, high def TV. So it's interesting to watch the two races, like old grainy 1984, what I grew up with, and then the 2008, version of the little bit higher definition stuff that you kids grew up with. So a little bit different that way too. So you get to see kind of the historical difference and how much everything has changed. The swimsuits, everything was different in 2008. So I'm going to take you through the race now and talk about different things that happened in the race. And as I said, so Michael Phelps is going to lead off. Now, Jason Lezak is the American record holder, he's going to be anchoring this race. So the United States, from a strategy standpoint, they're going at Michael Phelps. He's the big dog. He is the man in swimming. Everybody knows that. And then they're going to anchor with Lezak. And in the middle, you've got Garrett Weber-Gale, who is also a stud 100 freestyler. Cullen Jones is also on this relay. He is, of the 8 swimmers, he is the slowest, but still he's formidable. So we'll see how that goes. The French, on the other hand, end up swimming this relay slow to fast. So each guy got faster. So, it was an interesting way to do it, especially in such a big race. Even though the lanes are wider and you got the great lane ropes, it's kind of nice to get out there in the lead and not have to be chasing people down. But that's not the way the French swam the race, and they were going to put their two big guns, Frédéric Bascot and Alain Bernard, and then to see how they could do that. And they thought they had the firepower to win that race. So we'll see how it goes. So the race starts off, and Phelps gets off to a really quick start, but he's a little bit overshadowed because, like I said, next to him on the other side is Eamon Sullivan, and Eamon Sullivan goes out in a 21, just blazing speed, and Eamon Sullivan ends up breaking the world record again, leading off for Australia. Phelps is second, but he's put a big lead he put a pretty decent lead, about a half a second lead on the French. And but Phelps touches in an American record time of 47.51. He's only quarter of a second, like 27 hundredths of a second off the world record. So an amazing first 100 for Phelps. He's got the Americans ahead of the French, and he has definitely done his job. Next is Garrett Weber-Gale. Garrett Weber-Gale is swimming against Fabien Gallo, who is, again, one of the faster swimmers for the French. But Garrett Weber-Gale splits a 47.02. The Frenchman goes 47.05. So they are even split. But again, the United States has that, has like that half a second, 6/10 of a second lead when Cullen Jones hits the water. So the Americans are doing their job. The Frenchmen are hanging in there. Amory Laveau's leadoff split was a little bit faster than he went in the morning, but still everything is kind of playing out how you would expect, and it's starting to look, like this could just be a French victory. Cullen Jones splits a 47.6. He's about a half a second slower than Garrett Weber-Gale, but he's swimming against Frederic Biscoe. And so Frederic Biscoe splits a 46.6. A blistering fast split. And now that's, again, a swim he went in the morning also, but he gets out there. He is now handed the second fastest swimmer in the world, Alain Bernard, the lead, and 6 seconds of the second lead. So it's a pretty insurmountable lead when you think about it. Even Rowdy Gaines, as soon as Lezak and Bourdain hit the water, Lezak is like, Rowdy Gaines this is over. The Americans just don't have a chance. There's no way that we're going to see, some sort of an upset here. The Americans needed to have the lead, and now they're down by 6/10 of a second. So it is not looking good. And in fact, the announcers, with about 75 meters to go, they're already sorting out the medals. France first and the Americans second. At the turn. Alain Bernard he goes out in 21.1, and Lezak is out in 21.5. So now the lead is almost a full second, and he's really opened it up. But what's interesting, and again, we talked about this last week when we talked about Mikhail Gross, really getting a lot of the swimmers getting overexcited in that first 50 of their 200s. And the Americans were getting excited from the crowds. We saw the second and third swimmers of the Americans really get overexcited and get after it. And Mikhail Gross, we saw do the same thing. He got really excited, went after it. Mikhail Gross had a great swim overall, but had he not swum that first 50 so aggressively, he may have had a different outcome in that race. And now we see the same thing with Alain Bernard. Here he is. He has just talked a bunch of smack, and now he's up there and he's got to throw it down, and he goes out there and it's a very, very aggressive 21.1 first 50 in his 100 freestyle leg. Jason Lezak, on the other hand, a more conservative, more controlled 21.5. Now again, calling a 21.5 conservative in 2008 in the 400 free relay is kind of like an oxymoron. It's like, are you kidding me? That is still lightning fast. But now we have almost an 8/9 of a second lead, and so now Lezak has to now make that up, and again, it's just not going to happen. And so they come out the walls, and again, they come out that final wall. We got 50 meters to go, I remember being at a friend's house, and this was non-swimming friends. These were people that knew nothing about swimming, and we're watching the relay race, and even I was looking at this and going, oh my gosh, here we are, we're going to lose this race. Phelps is not going to get the 8 golds. Like, oh my God, what a nightmare. 7 golds and a silver. It's tragic. But, it's just so frustrating. And it's like, you didn't think it was happening. Well, then with about 25 meters to go, we start to see what happens when you go out too fast. And we see Alain Bernard start to lock up a little bit. His muscles start getting tightened. Lactic acid is just pouring into those muscles. And he's really, really hurting. He's hurting a lot. And all of a sudden, Lezak looks great. Not all of a sudden, Lezak looked great the whole race. But Lezak is going and going and going. He's got the nice long strokes. You see Bourdain kind of tightening up a little bit, where Lezak is getting out there, nice, great long strokes. And Lezak is every single stroke is just picking up. And now with 10 meters to go, this is turning into a race. Lezak has completely erased the lead, Bourdain's lead, and he's sitting on his shoulder, just a little bit behind him. They come underneath the flags, and it is still stroke for stroke. And when both of them touch the wall, you don't know unless, when you first see that, you just can't tell. And all of a sudden, the banner rolls out over the water, the NBC banner, or USA, and the Americans are going crazy and they're going nuts. When you see it underwater, you see that Lezak has I'm going to get out of the screen here a little bit. Has a great finish. He turns, he rolls onto his side, does pick his head up a little bit. I'm out of the screen here, sorry. See if I can get this better. But he rolls and turns and has a great finish, gets his hand on the wall just like you want to, and just set up for a perfect finish, and gets his hand on the wall first, just a few hundredths of a second ahead. So we had a little glitch in the video there. I apologize. So we're gonna have there's gonna be a little bit of a break right there. Somebody called me. I'm doing this on my phone. I got a phone call, so sorry about that. But anyway, so one of the great things about this relay too, as we wrap this up, is that the world record coming into this race out of the morning was 3:12. And 5 countries went under the world record. The United States and France both at 3:08. France just 8/100ths of a second behind the United States. Australia, Italy, and Sweden all break the world record, under the world record. In 7th place, South Africa, the former world record team prior to that, and the Olympic champions 4 years earlier. So it's such an amazing race. And then this race also completely solidified Jason Lezak as the greatest relay swimmer of all time. He was 47 mid in his individual swim, 47.6 individually. He split to 46.0, the fastest split in the history of the world. And after the race, they were like, and what were you thinking? What was going on? And he was pulling up. He's pulling out. What drove you? And he goes, there was no way I wasn't going to let Michael Phelps get 8 gold medals. We were going to win this for Michael. We were going to do this for him. So the selflessness of Jason Lezak and that relay and all the guys, but he just didn't want to lose. 46.0 from a 47.6. That is a monster swim. Now, so what happened? So Americans win that in a big upset against a heavily favored team, just like 1984. But I think the difference in this relay, 800 free relay, is a tougher, manlier race, or womanlier race, manlier race. But the big difference here is that for Michael Phelps to win 8 gold medals, we all know that Michael Phelps went on to win his eight gold medals through the rest of the weekend. Remember, this wasn't the last race, so this wasn't it, but Michael still had a lot of work to do for the rest of that week to get those 8 gold medals. But I think you debate the 2 relays; they both had a lot in common. Probably the tipping point, maybe the fact that it was so impactful in terms of the 8 gold medals for Michael Phelps. But that's that relay. And so now I want you guys to make sure you go back and watch the relays. We've got links down below for the 2 relays, and so you can see the races and everything. And then we'll let you guys decide what you think is the greatest relay race of all time. So that's our history lesson for today. This is Bullets Academy. I'm Bill Schals. Again, shout out to all of our coaches who are doing a phenomenal job of trying to get some normalcy in this crazy time with the coronavirus. It seems like we're kind of getting on the backside of this thing and getting over the hump a little bit. So, we're all fingers crossed that we're going to be able to get back in the water soon in May and, get back to some normalcy. I'm sure we'll be still practicing some social and physical distancing in the workouts, and we as a coaching staff are working diligently to put together some plans where we can get the kids back in the water, keep them spread out, keep them safe, and but try to get some normalcy back in all of our lives right now. So I don't know about you, but the walls are closing in a little bit. So this is Bill Schals. This is Academy Bullets. This is Bullets Academy, and I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, watch those relays and tell me what you think. I'm interested to hear your feedback. Thank you very much. Have a great day.